When I arrived in the small town of Maplewood, a mix of discomfort and curiosity washed over me. I, David Collins, a real estate broker from New York City, was used to the frenetic pace of urban life, surrounded by skyscrapers and the constant buzz of the city. But here, everything felt so peaceful, so simple that I almost felt like an intruder. The idea of appraising a property for a client looking to invest in a quiet place seemed strange, as if I were playing a piece on a board I didn't know. I drove down the main street, observing the houses with well-kept gardens, children playing on the sidewalks, and shopkeepers greeting passers-by with warm smiles. The contrast with my daily routine of business meetings and lavish parties was almost surreal. The air held a lightness I hadn't felt in a long time. At every corner there was a new flower shop, a bakery, a cafe. Everything was so welcoming and, in a way, nostalgic. It was then that, passing in front of a flower shop, something caught my attention. The flowers, vibrant and colorful, seemed to dance in the breeze. The sweet, fresh scent of the blooms filled my car, compelling me to stop. I looked into the window and saw a woman, her back to me, arranging a bouquet. Her hair, loose and wavy, swayed gently as she worked. There was something intriguing about her. It was as if she were in her own world, completely unaware of what was happening outside that flower shop. I couldn't resist. I parked and got out of the car, walking toward the entrance of the store. The bell above the door tinkled softly as I opened it, and the woman turned around. Our eyes met, and for a moment the world around us faded away. Her smile was contagious, illuminating the space in a way I hadn't expected to feel. "Hi, welcome," she said, her voice sweet and cheerful. "Can I help you with something?" "Actually, I'm just looking," I replied, trying to hide the nervousness bubbling inside me. "My name is Dave. I'm just a traveler passing through." "Nice to meet you, Dave. I'm Anna." She introduced herself, extending her hand. Her touch was gentle, and I felt an immediate connection. "Are you here for business?" "Something like that. I'm here to appraise a property nearby." The truth was, I didn't want to go into detail about my work. I didn't want her to know I was a successful real estate broker from New York. I wanted her to see me just as Dave, an ordinary man in search of something more. "Maplewood is a special place," Anna began as she returned to arranging the flowers. "I love living here. The people are kind, and each day is a new opportunity." "And have you been working here long?" I asked, watching her attentively. There was a passion in her voice that captivated me. "Yes, for about 5 years. I've always dreamed of having my own flower shop. It's a struggle, but I love every minute of it." She smiled, and I realized that this simplicity was something rare in my world. "That's admirable," I replied, genuinely impressed. "In fact, it's inspiring to see someone so passionate about what they do." "Thank you. Sometimes the little things in life are what really matter, don't you think?" She looked at me with a curious expression, and for a moment, I wanted to open my heart and tell her everything. But insecurity held me back. "Absolutely." I tried to mask my hesitation. I come from a bit of a different life. But it's nice to be here, even if just for a short time. Sometimes we need a break from the hustle to find ourselves," Anna said as she arranged the flowers in a vase. "Would you like to see some flowers? I just got a new shipment in." I nodded, and she began to show me the different varieties. I was fascinated not only by the flowers but by the way she spoke about them. Each one had a story, a reason for being special. Anna was like the flowers she sold, vibrant, full of life and beauty. "You have a special way of talking about them," I commented as she held up a yellow rose. "It seems like each flower has a meaning for you." "Each one does indeed." She smiled, her eyes sparkling. "Roses mean love. Daisies represent innocence. Each flower is unique, just like people." Those words resonated with me. The contrast between the life I led and Anna's simplicity was a shock. While I was surrounded by luxury and superficiality, she found beauty in the simple things. Time flew by, and I didn't want that moment to end. "I would love to stay longer, but I have to go." Reluctantly, I glanced at my watch. "I'm not sure if I'll be back here tomorrow." "If you come back, I'll be happy to see you again, Dave." She smiled, and I felt a tightness in my chest. I left the flower shop with a racing mind. What was I doing? I was a real estate broker, a businessman, and she was a florist in a small town. The connection I felt was intense, but I was about to return to my sophisticated life in New York. As I walked through the streets of Maplewood, I reflected on the life I had left behind. The galas, the business, the constant pressures. It all felt so empty. Yet, Anna's authenticity made me question everything. What did I truly want? What was happiness? I decided I needed to return to the flower shop. That smile, that energy emanating from her was something I wanted to explore. It was as if, in a world filled with riches, I had found a rare gem. That night, as I prepared for bed, I couldn't shake the thoughts of Anna. The way her hands worked with the flowers, how she spoke about her dreams and hopes. It was all so different from what I knew, so pure. I wanted to learn more about her, more about the life she led. That little town and her flower shop had left a mark on my heart. And the thought that I could return tomorrow and see her again filled me with an excitement I hadn't felt in a long time. As I closed my eyes, an image of Anna and her flowers danced in my mind. And I knew that, regardless of what happened, something had changed in me forever. When I decided to return to Anna's flower shop, a mix of excitement and nervousness took hold of me. I couldn't stop thinking about how I had felt during our first conversation, how her smile had brightened my gray day. As I entered the store, the sweet aroma of flowers enveloped me, and I almost lost myself in the vibrant beauty that filled every corner. Anna was facing away, arranging a bouquet, and her brown hair swayed gently with her movements. "Hi, Anna," called, trying to sound casual. She turned around, and her face lit up when she saw me. "David, I'm so glad you came back." The way she said my name made my heart race. "Are you curious to learn more about flowers?" "Actually, I'm here to help. What do you need?" I asked, trying to hide the truth, that I was there mainly because of her. Her laughter was like music to me. "I think you don't know much about flowers, but could you help me organize these? I'm preparing some orders for the weekend and could use a hand." "Flowers are flowers, right?" I joked, stepping closer to the table filled with roses, lilies, and daisies. "How can I help?" Anna smiled and began to show me how to group the flowers by type and color. As we worked, the conversation flowed naturally. "You know, I've always dreamed of expanding my business. I would love to have a bigger space, maybe a shop where I could offer floral arrangement workshops. People love learning about flowers, and I would adore sharing this passion." "That sounds amazing, Anna. You have a special talent for it," I replied, admiring the passion in her eyes. "I think you should follow that dream." "Thank you, David. Sometimes it's hard to believe I can do this, especially here in this small place. Many people prefer big, well-known stores, but I want something different." The way she spoke inspired me. "And you, what do you do for a living?" "I'm a real estate agent," I said, omitting the millionaire that usually accompanied that description. "I work in selling properties, primarily in big cities." "A real estate agent? How interesting. That must be an exciting job, right?" "It can be," I replied, trying to keep the conversation light. "But it can also be very stressful. Sometimes I wish I had a simpler life like yours." Anna paused for a moment and looked at me with curiosity. "Simpler? The life of a real estate agent seems so glamorous, full of luxury and parties." "I've had a lot of that, but it's not all it seems. Sometimes I feel lonelier than ever." The weight of my words seemed to hang in the air. She frowned, as if trying to understand what I was saying. "It's hard to find genuine connections when you're surrounded by superficiality, isn't it?" "Exactly. The connection we were forming felt so genuine that I didn't want it to end. You know, I really admire your authenticity. You seem so happy here, surrounded by flowers." Anna smiled, and in that moment, I realized I was completely fascinated by her. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know everything about her dreams, her hopes, and even her fears. After a while of organizing flowers, I noticed the sun was setting, and an idea formed in my mind. "Hey, Anna, how about we take a walk around the city? I know some cool places that I think you'll love." She hesitated for a moment, But then her eyes lit up. That would be wonderful. I would love to see the city from a new perspective. The proposal came with a touch of anxiety and excitement, and as soon as we left the flower shop, the evening began to transform into a romantic scene. We walked through the small town, the soft light from the street lamps illuminating our faces. We talked about everything and nothing, laughing and sharing stories. You know, I don't usually go out much. I'm usually so busy with work that I forget how fun it is just to be. Thank you for reminding me of that, Anna said, looking at me with a sparkle in her eyes. It's easy to be here with you. I don't know if you realize it, but you have this way of turning any moment into something special. We stopped in a small park, where the scent of wet grass and nighttime flowers filled the air. I led her to a wooden bench where we sat, and the tension between us was palpable. A comfortable silence enveloped the surroundings, and I couldn't take my eyes off her. David. She started but hesitated, as if preparing for something important. What is it, Anna? I asked, the anticipation growing inside me. I don't know how to explain it. I really like you. Since the first time we met, I felt a connection. But at the same time, I can't help but wonder if you are really who you say you are. Her gaze was serious, and I felt a chill in my stomach. I am who you see here, Anna. Just a guy who appreciates the beauty of flowers and the sincerity of people. I wasn't lying, but I wasn't being entirely honest either. She looked down as if pondering my response. That's good, but what happens when you go back to your normal life? Do you think this will work? The weight of the question hit me. I wanted to be sincere. I wanted to open my heart to her, but the fear of losing that moment paralyzed me. I don't know, but for now I just want to enjoy what we have. I don't want to think about the future. She smiled shyly, and I leaned in closer, feeling the need to shorten the distance between us. Our lips finally met in a soft, hesitant kiss. The world around us disappeared, and all that existed was us. The kiss was sweet and full of promises, and I lost myself in that moment, wishing it could last forever. When we pulled away, her expression was filled with questions and insecurities. David, please don't make promises you can't keep. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to hurt you, Anna. I promise I'll be honest with you. But right now, I just want to enjoy this moment. The truth was, with every passing second, the weight of my true identity felt harder to carry. The sky above us was sprinkled with stars, and I knew that despite all the uncertainties, I had found something special in Anna. The connection we created was magical, but the shadow of my true identity loomed over us, creating a tension I couldn't ignore for much longer. The rain fell in heavy drops, creating a soft symphony against the windows of the flower shop. I was behind the counter, organizing flowers and trying to push away the thoughts that insisted on tormenting me. The sweet scent of flowers mixed with the humidity in the air, but the beauty of the place couldn't dissipate the restlessness that had settled in my heart. David, or rather Dave as he introduced himself, had completely left me bewildered. Every conversation, every laugh we shared seemed to take me to an unfamiliar place, and now I found myself trapped between doubt and hope. The bell at the door rang, and I lifted my head, expecting to see the familiar smile that had brightened my days recently. But it wasn't him. A robust man with a confident smile and an expensive suit walked in, bringing the heavy energy of the corporate world that I so despised. "Good afternoon," he said, looking around with an air of indifference. "Good afternoon," I replied, trying to hide my disinterest. "Can I help you? ####. Yes, I'm looking for a gift for a special client. Any suggestions?" He leaned over the counter, his gaze analyzing every detail of my little flower haven. As I spoke about the flowers and their meanings, my thoughts drifted to David. I wished he was there, listening to my animated voice as I talked about the flowers. Instead, I felt alone, as if I were in a world where he didn't belong. "A red rose is always a good choice," I said, trying to keep my focus on the customer. "Red rose, huh? Classic," he replied, but his tone was dismissive. "I need something more impressive." He picked up an arrangement of exotic flowers I had prepared and looked at me. "Do you really think this will impress someone? People want luxuries, not simple flowers." A shiver ran down my spine. "Flowers have their own charm," I retorted, trying to stay calm. "They convey emotions that words often can't express." He laughed sarcastically. "Emotions? That's something for people without ambition. You need to understand that the world is about business, not feelings." He waved dismissively and walked away, leaving me more frustrated than before. What did he know about love, about what it really meant to connect with someone? I wanted to scream, but instead I took a deep breath and returned to arranging my flowers. The bell rang again, and this time my heart raced. It was David. He walked in, drenched from the rain, and the expression on his face made my stomach churn. There was something in his eyes that I couldn't decipher. "Hey, Anna," he said, shaking the water from his hair. "Sorry I'm late." "Hey, Dave," I replied, trying to hide the worry in my voice. "You're soaked." "Yeah, I guess I underestimated the weather forecast," he smiled, but it was a forced smile. There was tension in the air, and I sensed that there was something he wanted to tell me. "I was helping a customer," I said, trying to change the subject. He had no idea what he was talking about when it came to flowers. David raised an eyebrow. "Oh, the type who thinks flowers are just an accessory to impress?" He stepped closer to the counter, and there was a glimmer in his eyes that made me forget the previous conversation. "Exactly. As if the beauty of a flower doesn't have its own worth," I replied, feeling my passion for flowers ignite within me again. "They have their stories, their emotions. Each one has a meaning." "How do you do that?" he asked, with a tone of admiration that made me feel a little flattered. "How do you find meaning in something so simple?" "Because for me, flowers are anything but simple," I said, looking into his eyes. "They're like us, they have their colors, their shapes, their fragility. And just like people, they need care and attention. I've always believed that if you dedicate yourself, you can make something beautiful grow." David seemed to reflect on my words, and the silence between us grew, heavy with unspoken meanings. Finally, he broke the silence. "Anna, I need to tell you something." His tone was nervous, and I felt my heart race. What was he about to say? "Sure, go ahead," I encouraged. But before he could continue, the bell rang again. A group of young people entered, laughing and chatting excitedly. They headed straight for David, and my anticipation dissolved in an instant. "Hey man, what are you doing here?" one of the guys said, giving David a friendly slap on the back. They seemed like old friends, and their light atmosphere contrasted sharply with what I felt. "Just checking it out," David replied, trying to look casual, but I could see the tension in his face. He looked at me, and I sensed that there was something deeper in his hesitation. "Oh, you have to come with us. We're going to a bar later. It's going to be a fun night," another friend exclaimed, pulling David away from me. "Yeah, I don't know." David hesitated, glancing at me as if he were in a dilemma. "Go ahead, Dave. You deserve a bit of fun," I said, trying to force a smile, even though I felt a pang of pain in my heart. He turned to his friends, and before I could say more, they were occupying his attention, pulling him out of the flower shop. I stood there, watching them walk away, as the rain continued to fall. What was happening? Why couldn't David just be honest? I knew there was something between us, something real, but he seemed trapped in a world that didn't mesh with mine. Insecurity began to consume me, and the need for clarity about the future of our relationship became a shadow that wouldn't leave me in peace. Night fell, and I closed the flower shop earlier than usual. I walked through the streets of the small town, raindrops forming puddles, reflecting the lights of the street lamps. I thought about David, his smile, and what could be if he would only allow himself to be honest with me. But instead, he seemed hesitant, caught between two worlds, and the idea of losing that connection left me anguished. Why can't he just be himself? I murmured to myself as the rain wrapped around me in a cold embrace. I needed answers, but what more could I do but wait? I was sitting in my car, parked in front of Anna's flower shop, trying to gather the courage to go in. The day was sunny, but the light illuminating the town seemed unable to reach my heart, which thudded anxiously in my chest. I thought about how my life had changed since I met Anna, and the thought of losing everything we had built together caused me unbearable pain. I knew I needed to be honest with her, but the fear of her rejection left me paralyzed. As I watched the entrance of the shop, I saw Anna smiling at a customer. The sparkle in her eyes as she spoke to him was something I had never seen before. It was as if she illuminated the environment around her, and I felt small and insignificant. The truth was, even with all my money and status, I had never felt so drawn to anyone. She was the simplicity in a world I knew so well, but that now seemed so empty. I took a deep breath and got out of the car. Each step toward the flower shop felt like a growing weight, as if the ground beneath my feet were crumbling. The doorbell jingled as I entered, and immediately Anna turned to me. Her smile widened, but I soon noticed the hint of insecurity in her gaze. "Hey Dave, it's great to see you again," she said, trying to hide the hesitation in her voice. "Hey, Anna. I was in the area and thought I'd stop by," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. But the truth was, I was there for a much deeper reason than just a casual visit. "Are you okay? You seem a bit pensive," she observed, a touch of concern in her voice. "It's just life, you know," I said, trying to divert the conversation. "How are the flowers?" "They're great. I got a new delivery today," she replied, gesturing toward a table full of fresh blooms. "Would you like to see?" I nodded, but my mind was elsewhere. I wasn't there to talk about flowers. What I really wanted was to open my heart to her. The problem was that the more I saw her, the more suffocated I felt by my own lie. "Anna, I need to tell you something," I started, but before I could continue, the customer who had been with her approached. "Hi Dave. Are you here to buy flowers?" the man said with a friendly smile. "Oh no. Just visiting," I replied, forcing a smile. But the growing tension in my chest wouldn't ease. Once the customer left, I turned my attention back to Anna. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt," she said, a little embarrassed. "What did you want to tell me?" I hesitated. "Actually, Her phone rang and she glanced at the screen, her expression shifting quickly. "Sorry, it's an important call. Can I take it?" "I'll be right back." She stepped away to take the call, and I felt utterly helpless. Anxiety surged within me like a storm ready to break. While I waited, I looked around the shop, admiring the vibrant flowers. Each one seemed to tell a story of life and hope, while I was trapped in a cycle of lies. When Anna returned, she seemed a bit more tense. "Sorry, it was a call about a potential buyer for the shop," she explained, running a hand through her hair. "I'm actually thinking about selling." My heart sank. "Sell? Why?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral, but concern slipped through. "I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm fighting this battle alone, and an investor could bring a fresh perspective to the business," she replied, looking down as if trying to avoid my gaze. "But you love this, Anna. You can't just give up something you've created with so much care," I said, trying to convince her not to go down that path. "And if it means I could have more financial security. I don't know if I can keep going like this, not knowing what's next," she said, her voice trembling. I wanted to shout that, no matter what happened, I was willing to stand by her side. But the truth was, I wasn't sure I could be the man she deserved. That moment felt like a crack in our relationship, a thin line that, if broken, could be impossible to mend. "Anna, you know I care about you, right?" I said, trying to find the right words. "I don't want you to do anything that might hurt you." She looked at me, her eyes shining with a mix of emotions. "And you, Dave, you seem so distant sometimes. What's happening with you? What do you really want?" Her words hit me like a punch in the stomach. Had no answer. All I wanted was to be honest, but fear held me back. I want to be here. With you," I managed to say, but it still sounded vague. "Then why do I feel like you're hiding something from me?" Anna asked, her voice now firm. "I feel like you're not who you say you are." The pressure mounted. I knew the truth was a ticking time bomb ready to explode. I'm not perfect, Anna. I have a past and a life that are far from your reality. And I don't know how to tell you this without hurting you. Then why not try? She challenged, a determined look on her face. I don't want you to treat me like I'm fragile. I deserve to know the truth. I knew it was time to let my defenses down, but the thought of losing her trust was terrifying. Anna, I am David Collins. I'm a real estate agent in New York. I have money and I feel like you deserve someone who isn't caught up in a world like mine. The silence that followed was deafening. Anna looked at me, and I saw a mix of confusion and pain. David Collins. The millionaire. Her voice was a whisper, and I knew I had crossed a line. I didn't want you to find out this way, I said, guilt consuming me. I just wanted you to know me as Dave, the man who fell in love with you, not the millionaire you might fear. She shook her head, confused, as if trying to process everything. But why didn't you tell me from the start? Why hide this from me? I was scared, I exclaimed, frustration spilling over. Scared that you'd see me like everyone else, as a man of money who only cares about status. I wanted you, Anna. The real you. She took a step back, as if I had pushed her away. Now I don't know what to think. If you truly loved me, you would have been honest from the beginning. What else are you hiding? Doubt hung between us, and the distance that was beginning to form was palpable. I didn't know how to salvage what we had, as if everything I built was crumbling before my eyes. Please don't leave me, I pleaded, but she seemed lost in her own thoughts. The fear of losing Anna morphed into a growing panic. I needed to act, but what could I do to fix my mistake? As I walked through the quiet streets of the small town, a sense of anguish consumed my mind. The sun shone brightly, but I felt like I was in the midst of an internal storm. I couldn't stop thinking about what my business friend, Mark, had revealed. He had talked about a plan to acquire Anna's flower shop, and it felt like I was being pulled into an abyss. How could I let this happen? How could I become the reason Anna lost her dream? My mind spun with the idea of how I had gotten myself into such a complicated situation. I had met Anna as Dave, an ordinary traveler. She had no idea of the true extent of my fortune and my world. Now that authentic connection we had built was threatened by lies and secrets. I needed to act fast, but what could I do to prevent Mark's plan from coming to fruition? The noise from my phone pulled me out of my trance. It was a message from Mark. We need to talk about the flower shop. The plan is in motion, and you'll have to decide soon. My heart raced. I didn't want this anymore. I didn't want Anna to be hurt because of a power play I wanted no part in. I decided it was time to confront Mark and set everything straight. I walked into a local cafe, where I used to meet Anna during her breaks. The smell of fresh coffee and homemade cakes enveloped me, but the atmosphere that once felt welcoming now felt suffocating. I couldn't touch anything. The only thing that mattered was the conversation I needed to have with Mark. When I finally found him, he was sitting at a table in the back, a satisfied expression on his face. David, you're late. We need to discuss this urgently, he said, not lifting his eyes from the laptop. No, Mark. I don't want to be part of this anymore, I replied, my voice firm but tense. I can't let you manipulate the situation like this. He looked at me surprised. What are you talking about? This is a golden opportunity. You can't just walk away now. This opportunity involves destroying the dream of a woman I love. How can you be so insensitive? I felt my anger rising, and the coffee around us seemed to fade away, leaving just the two of us in the eye of a storm. Love, are you serious? You've known her for weeks. This isn't real, David. It's just a phase. The disdain in his voice hurt more than I expected. It's not a phase. Anna is everything I've ever looked for. She's genuine, authentic. I can't let you do this to her, I said, feeling the clarity of my words surge like a tide. Mark crossed his arms and leaned back in his chair, a smug smile on his face. So, what are you going to do? Throw it all away? This is a chance to expand your business and secure your future. My future means nothing if it means hurting someone I love. I'll expose you if necessary, I declared, realizing I was willing to risk everything. Mark laughed. You think you can stop me? You'll think twice before acting against me. The last thing you want is for your luxurious life to come crashing down. I stood up, adrenaline coursing through my veins. And the last thing I want is to be the man who takes advantage of someone's love. I'm not like you, Mark. I'm not a traitor. I left the cafe with renewed determination. I needed to find Anna and explain everything to her. I couldn't let her think I was part of this plan. As I walked toward the flower shop, I felt the pressure building in my chest. The fear of her rejecting me paralyzed me. What if she didn't believe me? What if the pain of discovering my true identity was unbearable? Upon entering the flower shop, the scent of fresh blooms enveloped me, but the atmosphere felt heavy. Anna was behind the counter, arranging a bouquet when she saw me. Her face lit up for a brief moment, but then dimmed when she noticed the serious expression on my face. David, are you okay? She asked, concern evident in her voice. Anna, I need to talk to you. It's urgent, I replied, trying to control the anxiety that consumed me. She hesitated but nodded and moved closer. Sure, what happened? I looked around, making sure there were no customers nearby. It's about what you might have heard regarding the flower shop. I don't want you to think I'm involved in this. I never intended for you to find out who I really am this way. Anna furrowed her brow. What do you mean by that? David, what's going on? My name is David Collins. I'm a real estate broker in New York. My friend, he has plans to buy your flower shop. I didn't know about it until today, and when I found out, I was horrified. The pressure in my chest intensified, and I needed her to understand the sincerity behind my words. Anna's eyes widened, and I saw confusion turn into pain. You lied to me. From the beginning. You pretended to be someone you're not. It wasn't meant to be malicious. I just wanted you to get to know me for who I am, without the expectations that come with my name and wealth. I fell in love with you, Anna. And I can't let him hurt you, I pleaded, feeling the urgency of my words. She stepped back, her gaze distant. And if this is really true, why didn't you tell me before? Why hide your identity? I was scared. Scared that you wouldn't want to know me if you knew who I really was. Scared that you'd be just another woman interested in my fortune. I confessed, the truth spilling out in every word. Anna shook her head, clearly struggling with her emotions. David, this is all so complicated. I don't know if I can trust you now. I knew I had to take action. Please give me a chance. Don't let Mark's lies destroy what we have. I'm here to fight for you and what we've built together. She hesitated, and I sensed a battle raging within her. I don't know if I can trust you again. It feels like you used me. It wasn't like that. I never wanted that. Please, Anna, listen to me. I'm not like Mark. I don't want you to sell your flower shop. I want you to succeed, but on your own terms. I want you to do what you love, I said, trying to convey all the sincerity I felt. Her eyes were misty, and I knew the pain was real. What if you're lying again? What if, in the end, you're just trying to save your own skin? I can't change what I did, but I can change what I do from here on out. Let me show you that I'm worthy of your trust, I begged, my voice almost pleading. She looked at me, the struggle still evident in her gaze. I knew that words alone wouldn't be enough, but it was all I had in that moment. The air was heavy that morning, and the city seemed to hear the pulse of my thoughts as I walked toward the flower shop. My heart raced, as if trying to escape the weight of the guilt that had accompanied me since discovering my friend's treacherous plans. All I wanted was to find Anna, but the idea of facing her again after everything that had happened left me restless. I knew I had to act. I couldn't let things end like this. The small flower shop was bathed in morning sunlight, and the scent of flowers filled my nostrils the moment I walked in. Anna was there, focused on arranging a bouquet, and her presence gave me a mix of relief and anguish. She looked up, and for a brief moment our eyes met. Her smile was as radiant as the flowers around her, but it quickly faded when she sensed the shadow on my face. "What are you doing here, David?" she asked, her voice tense and cautious. "Anna, I need to talk to you," I replied, trying to conceal the urgency in my words. "It's about what happened, and about my friend Mark." She crossed her arms, a defensive stance I recognized immediately. The tension between us was palpable. The silence stretched on, and I knew I needed to be honest. I couldn't keep hiding who I was any longer. "I know you feel betrayed, and I can't change that, but you need to understand that I'm not like him. What he's doing is unacceptable," I said, taking a deep breath. "He wants to buy your flower shop, and I can't let that happen." Anna raised an eyebrow, her expression a mix of surprise and distrust. "So you're telling me you're here to save me? After everything that's happened between us?" I shook my head, fighting the feeling that every word I spoke pushed her further away. "That's not it. I'm not the man you thought I was. But I love you, Anna, and I can't let him destroy everything you've built." She hesitated, a conflict evident in her eyes. "Love? Do you really think you can use that word now? After everything? You deceived me from the start." I know," I interrupted, desperate. "But I didn't want you to know who I really was because I was afraid it would change everything between us. I wanted you to see me as I am, as Dave, not as David Collins, the millionaire real estate agent." Anna took a deep breath, and I could see her hands trembling slightly as she tried to process it all. "You made me believe in something that didn't exist. I don't know if I can trust you again." The investor, who had been waiting outside, stepped into the shop, interrupting our moment. He exuded an air of power and arrogance that irritated me instantly. "Anna, you need to understand this is a great opportunity. Don't let your emotions prevent you from making the right business decision. And you need to understand that I'm not a commodity to be bought." Anna shot back, her voice firm, but I could sense the insecurity behind her words. I couldn't stand by while that man pressured her. An impulse took over, and I stepped closer. "You have no right to come in here and try to manipulate Anna like that," I said, my voice raised, causing the investor to turn towards me, surprised. "And who are you to interfere?" he retorted dismissively. "Oh, right, her friend. Don't forget I'm offering her a future, something you could never provide." "You're wrong," I said, feeling anger bubbling inside me. "What you're doing here is a betrayal, and I won't let you manipulate her. Anna is more than an investment. She's an incredible woman, full of dreams and passions, and you're trying to crush all of that for your ego." Anna looked at me, her eyes shining with something I couldn't identify. Was it hope? Fear? I didn't know. But the certainty that I needed to defend her gave me courage. The investor, realizing he was losing ground, started to retreat. "You're going to regret this, David. Don't think you can interfere in my business," he said, leaving the shop with an air of contempt. Once he was gone, the tension in the room seemed to dissipate a bit. I turned to Anna, my heart racing. "Anna, I don't know if I can fix what I've done, but I don't want you to sell the shop. This is what you love. It's your dream." She looked at me, confusion still evident in her gaze. "And what if I decide to sell? What would you do?" "I would fight for you and for your dream. I would denounce my friend and everything he's doing, even if it means risking my career. I can't let you go. I can't lose what we have," I said, sincerity in every word. Anna seemed to be at a crossroads, and I could feel the struggle within her. Then, with a small gesture, she moved closer, sadness mingling with hope in her eyes. "David, I don't know if I can trust you again, but I can't ignore how I feel." "Then let's rebuild this together," I pleaded. "Let's show everyone that our love is stronger than any lies. I'm here, and I want to fight for us." With a deep sigh, she finally nodded. "I want to fight too. But we need to be honest with each other. No more secrets." In that moment, I realized we had taken the first step toward rebuilding our story. The past still weighed heavily on us, but the certainty that we were willing to fight for a future together was all I needed. And as I looked into Anna's eyes, I saw not just love, but the promise of a new beginning, a new chapter we were ready to write together.